Hello friends, today we are going to take a look at the daily writing routine of Virginia Woolf. Oh boy, first off, apologies for this. I was traveling, I'm getting it fixed in a couple days. Don't worry, I know you're not worried, I'm the only one who's worried, so moving on from that. Virginia Woolf was one of the most important modernist 20th century authors, pioneering the use of stream of consciousness as a narrative device. She also happens to be my all-time favorite author, someone who is guaranteed to put me in a creative headspace with the consumption of only one paragraph. Since I first read The Voyage Out in 11th grade, thank you, Mr. Gregory, I have been transfixed, not only by her writing, but by elements of her life which I dream of emulating. Woolf's first novel was the aforementioned Voyage Out, which was written in 1915, 5 years after she began writing professionally. The Voyage Out would see the first mention of her most famous character, Mrs. Dalloway. Other prominent works include To the Lighthouse, Orlando, and her essay A Room of One's Own, where she uses metaphor to explore social injustices and to comment on women's lack of free expression. The Bloomsbury Group, a circle of English writers, intellectuals, and artists in the early 20th century, included Virginia, as well as prominent figures like John Maynard Keynes, E.M. Forster, Vanessa Bell, and Lytton Strachey. While not a formal group, they shared a belief in the significance of the arts. Originating from Cambridge and King's College London, they congregated in Bloomsbury, London, and formed tight bonds, notably through Vanessa's Friday Club and Toby's Thursday evenings. Their influence extended to literature, aesthetics, feminism, pacifism, and sexuality. Connected to an intellectual lineage akin to the Clapham sect, their relationships predating their fame characterized their collective ethos. Virginia and her husband Leonard also owned a press called the Hogarth Press, which provided a diversion for Virginia when writing became too stressful. The press was set up in the dining room of Hogarth House, where they lived, and between 1917 and 1946 they published 527 titles. Now, this is just a small snippet about Virginia's life, but I'm sure you can see how I relate to her when it comes to intellectual and creative groups, as well as taking charge of publishing oneself. I am lucky, however, to not suffer from the depression which plagued Virginia, eventually taking her life on March 28, 1941, when she was 59 years old. This depression affected her creativity and schedule, often making it impossible to write and to keep up with basic routines such as eating. However, when she was feeling well, Virginia stuck to her routine like it was described a stockbroker. In this way, she was able to make the most of the time when she was able to write. She also was strict in her journaling habit, which is why we know about her schedule in the first place. It went a little something like this. So it is with this schedule in mind that I set out to live a day in Virginia Woolf's life. While it's unclear precisely at what time Virginia Woolf rose, we knew that she would write between 9:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. Prior to this, she would have breakfast, as well as a bath, so we can assume she likely woke around 7 in the morning depending on how quickly she bathed and ate. Perhaps it may have even been earlier, considering that her breakfast was often had with her husband, where conversation would inevitably take flight, and her baths were notorious brainstorming sessions. She would lay in the narrow, claw-footed bathtub working out scenes she was writing. The walls were thin. In Recollections, their servant, Louis Everest, remembers hearing her. He was quoted as saying, "On and on she went, talk, 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 asking questions and giving herself the answers. I thought there must be 2 or 3 people up there with her." Woolf used to receive a book on Friday, read it by Sunday, and write 1,500 words by Wednesday so it could be edited and published by Friday. She repeated this routine almost every week for 30 years. This work was in the service of reviewing books. Personally, I am terrible at reviewing books, so this is not what I worked on. Instead, I was catching up on some really helpful notes from my collaborator on my work in progress Eternity. Writing is writing, right? Virginia Woolf was also a very untidy writer. She admitted herself, "The litter in this room is so appalling," in her diary on December 16, 1939, adding, "It takes me 5 minutes to find my pen." You'll see that my space here was quite clear because for me, I need order in my life to have chaos in my art. An untidy desk is not something I could function with. Sorry, Virginia, we all do what we must to summon the muse. After spending 2.5 hours writing, Virginia would break for lunch. While her eating habits faced the same challenges as her creative work, feast or famine, there were times when meals eluded her. However, when she was in finer form for life, she was the same with food, writing about it beautifully and recording every joyful bite. She had a love for picking berries and vegetables outdoors and savoring many classic British meaty dishes. Today I was having a tofu and veggie dish, definitely not something our protagonist would have preferred, but her choices weren't exactly vegan friendly. Once the work and revision was complete, Virginia would walk about the countryside or the city of London. While she had properties in the city and country, she would often prefer the bustle of the city over the quiet of the country, reflecting on how she missed it while she was away. After writing, Virginia would have tea. Today I was going out for dinner, so I sat down to write in my notebook for a bit before going out. Woolf rarely sat at her work table. As quoted by her husband, to write her novel of a morning she sat in a very low armchair, which always appeared to be suffering from prolapsus uteri. On her knees was a large board made of plywood, which had an inkstand glued to it, and on the board was a large quarto notebook of plain paper, which she had bound up and covered herself in, usually some gaily colored paper. Woolf was also known for her use of colored inks. Instead of settling for black, she would use purple, green, and blue, of which purple was her favorite. This is what she used for letter writing, diary entries, manuscript drafts, and page proofs. Most of Mrs.Dalloway was written in purple. So were her letters to her lover, Vita Sackville West. Woolf's evenings were reserved for reading or seeing friends. She was not a writer who could work at night, saying in her diary from March 1922, "How great writers write at night, I don't know. It's an age since I tried, and I find my head full of pillow stuffing." This is something I often relate to myself. For this evening, I was attending a dinner and game night with a few close friends and my mum. It was the perfect end to a lovely creative day. And that was my day in the life of Virginia Woolf. While Virginia lived in a different time and had a very different life compared to my own, there's something about her creativity and sensibilities that I have always identified with, and if I can ever be even as close to as good an author as she was, I will be grateful. Working the way Virginia did was quite natural for me. While I am much busier than she was, I do keep a similar schedule. I try to be up between 7 and 8. I work better during daylight hours and find it easier to see friends in the evening, though also like Virginia, I am definitely more introverted and prefer those cozy evenings in reading as much as I do enjoy my chosen group of friends. That being said, one thing I'm terrible at is keeping a journal, and I don't read as often as I'd like. Certainly not as often as Virginia herself. One day I do hope to be better with that, though I've largely given up on that journaling element. As much as I dislike social media, that is there as a record of important events, and it's good enough for me at the moment. It was really nice to take time to write during this day. I've been doing so much that it's not something I've been able to really do in a while. These day-in-the-life videos are actually a really good excuse to get back into that zone while also multitasking. And this particular day was far less stressful than my attempt to follow Charles Dickens' routine. If you want to see that video, check it out up here. And that's all for today. I realized a few weeks back that this was a series I really liked the idea of, but only got that one video out, so I hope you enjoy my return to writer routines. Whose routine would you like for me to try next? Next week, I'm going to speak with you more about the Stygian Society's upcoming publication, Dark Flock. But for now, please check out our crowdfunding link, which I will be leaving in the description as well as the pinned comment below. This project is really cool, and I know you're gonna love it, but more on that next time. Please remember to leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell button so you actually get notified when I post videos and go live, and last but not least, I hope that you are having a day that is just as wonderful as you are. Bye. So, mine was a belly full of hard-boiled eggs.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh no.
I thought I was guessing this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's a hard-boiled egg.
No,
But, I mean, like, how else are you gonna put an egg across, really? But, like, those are sunny
I was
side up,
running
right?
out of time.
That's nice. That's a nice drawing.
It's very nice. Jamie says hungry for eggs.
Yeah,
Okay,
close enough. I did my
But
job.
then it gets
Yeah.
into Belmer's hands.
What?
Look at those lips on that thing. Look at this. Look at this person.
Can I see his face again? I couldn't even focus on the face. Oh, I thought that was his mustache.
No, I think his lips like.
Tell me what you think this is.
Half a denture is what I would.
Children's teeth.
Oh no.
Oh God.
What? What? Footless Joe shops for a wedding ring.
A wedding ring? A footless child.
He's got no feet. Did you see the picture? Did you see Belmer's picture?
Yep.
He's at
Are
a
you
Joe.
English?
I just call it as I see it.
Belmer, why did you leave out his feet?
Because I didn't have
Why
time
did
to
you
draw the
put
feet.
him at the jewelry counter?
Is that what that is?
Well, look,
It's eggs.
it's half a denture.
it's wedding ring.
It's half a denture.
All right, that's where we left it off.